made it to the border with Suriname, which is a ferry. The ferry is just docking and it's not covered. And we see this rain coming. So we'll see how this goes. We're gonna get a little wet, I think. We made it on the ferry. Smallest ferry I've ever seen. Carries one motorbike and one cart. And I think it's almost time to go. With a totally packed ferry, we're leaving the French continent in a way. Not the EU, but it is part of France. And we're going across the water. Over there. And that's the border control on the Suriname side. So we have to buy insurance again and immigration and all that fun stuff. And then we're in Suriname, country number 20. Just look at the difference where we left, and it is kind of blue, and where we're going, where there's a big depression going on. And I hope I don't have to ride through that. Anyway, these are the kind of depressions that we've been dealing with. It's rain season here, and every once in a while it is coming down. Usually doesn't take that long, but it comes down. And I tried riding through it a couple of times, and a couple of times it works if it's a small enough one, but this looks like a pretty big system that will just get you wet, soaked, so there's no point. Now the best part is that over there in Suriname, they speak Dutch. So I'm pretty sure communication is going to be a little bit easier. Excuse my French, but my French is right now a mixture of Portuguese, Spanish, French, and whatever other language that comes along every once in a while. So it's not ideal. Welcome to Paramaribo in Suriname, former Dutch colony. It is warm here. It's very humid. We just had a massive monsoon, so now things have cooled down a little bit again. In my search for a mechanic in Paramaribo in Suriname to just get something fixed. I'm not wearing my proper gear. I know, tisk tisk. And I don't really feel like putting my rain gear on, so I just drove into this covered area to wait until this tropical monsoon passes by. So what we're trying to fix today is my rear suspension. Looks like the oil is gone from it, so I'm bouncing up and down like a yo-yo after speed bumps and other kinds of bumps. So I'm gonna try to have that fixed somewhere here because it's not really safe. You got to be pretty cautious, and yeah, it's just not really the way to go. Unfortunately, I'm 2,500 kilometers away from the nearest BMW dealer, so yeah, let's see what we can do. Okay, so we had a little problem with the suspension. So the suspension has some new oil and it has rubber in between. so that I'm not bouncing like a yo-yo on my way off-road. We are gonna check out a few things today. We're gonna check out a fortress, and we are gonna check out a palm tree garden slash park. So hopefully it stays dry while we do all that. Welcome to the Palmentuin, or palm garden as it is called. So not everybody might know this, but Suriname is actually a former Dutch colony. So the main language is Dutch, which I happen to speak quite well. So that's kind of nice. Welcome to the palm tree garden of Suriname. There's just one little park in the middle of Paramaribo. So here's another fun fact. Did you know that Holland actually used to own New York? And New York used to be called New Amsterdam? Bet you didn't know that. But then the Dutch struck a deal to give New York to the United States. I believe it was something like for $1, and then they also got a country with it, which was Suriname. Interesting deal. So this is in the middle of this palm garden, which is basically a tribute to all the indigenous people that fell victim to colonization way back. And yeah, it's good to have. It's a good place. I just have to avoid all the puddles because we just had a big monsoon come down a few minutes ago. So I gotta walk. Whoa! Watch out a little bit where I walk, so I don't drown in a puddle. Yeah, we're just gonna leave now. We're gonna move on to the Zeelandia fortress. No, but not through here apparently, because that exit is closed. So I'll have to figure out how to get out of this place again. So I just found out that this palm tree garden is actually closed for the public for 7 months because they're just trying to redo it all and clean it up. Except the entrance I took, the sign wasn't there. Well, then again, maybe the police is coming to arrest me for illegally entering right here. So we're not sure exactly what this building quite is, but obviously it's some sort of ruin. And there's not that much left. I'm just not sure if this is the fort. I think this is the area somewhere, but I haven't found a place where I have to pay or get in. So that's what we're looking for now. All right, we're coming up to the fort. So it's relatively small, I guess, but it definitely looks a little bit like Dutch style inside here. So let's check it out. It's the welcoming committee. There's a little dog coming here. So we can walk on the inside of this place a little bit, but the actual museum is closed. I'm too late, so I'll have to come back tomorrow. Oh, it's the next day, and we're back at the Zeelandia fortress, and this time the museum is open, which is over my shoulder inside. So let's see what they have. So while it's very convenient for me now that they speak Dutch in Suriname, of course the reason for that is less glamorous. Just been reading up about it a little bit here, and apparently since 1650, that's when they already had slaves coming from Africa to Suriname. First by the British, then by the Dutch, then by the French. And finally in 1808, they abolished slave trade, which obviously is a good thing. But yeah, what this museum is about that history, the history of the country on its own, even apart from slavery. And it's pretty cool because obviously there is a Dutch influence that's very recognizable for me. So that part I kind of like. The slave trade obviously was a horrible thing. Because shackles and stuff like that no doubt were used for slaves way back. Guns. So why they had these hooks is so that slaves could not escape. The one on the right, they couldn't run away through the forest because they would get stuck. And then this one on the left was something to punish slaves. these were just handcuffs, old-fashioned ones. So this fortress here is called Zeelandia, but it used to actually be called Fort Willoughby before the Dutch took over somewhere in the 1670s, something like that. And then they called it Fort Zeelandia. All right, let's walk outside on one of the walls. Oh, look what a beautiful bike over there. So here's the inner square, if you call it that. And I guess this is where the guards were walking around back in the day. So it's quite intriguing and sad, this history. According to this museum, during slave trade, about 16 million people were transported from Africa to the New World, and about 16% of that died just in transit. That's more than 2.5 million people that died. They even tried to actually make the indigenous slaves initially as well, but that didn't work out because I guess the colonists from Europe came here and just brought diseases with them. And these indigenous people here did not have resistance against simple stuff like the flu. So they would die of all kind of that stuff. And that's why they resorted to bringing people over from Africa. How cruel it was. It's unbelievable. And yet the history is intriguing to me. It is truly incredible how many different kind of cultures have had an impact on Suriname. Indigenous, French, English, Dutch, of course. People from China came here, from Indonesia, all over the place. And so this is actually a very cool museum that shows a little bit about the history, the dark history, but also about art, the immigrants, and how the entire country shaped itself. Again, history. So this sign basically says that not that long ago, in 1982, 5 people on this spot were executed by the military regime because they were trying to promote freedom and what else? Well, freedom basically, and democracy. They did not like that, so without any process, they brought them here to this spot, killed them. All right, I think it's the end of the tour, so we're walking back down to the center area. And then off we go. Back through a little entrance tunnel. There used to be a moat around here actually, but it's gone. So now we're going back to the bike. Made it to a place called Nieuwe Nikkerie, which is Dutch, which is fun. And I found a fun little bridge over a little canal. Lots of green stuff. How cool. Anyway, so this place is right on the border with Guyana. That border is a river, well, or an inlet, I guess, from the ocean. And there's just a little ferry that only fits 15 cars or something like that, and it goes once a day. So I had to stay here for the night, and tomorrow we're gonna see if we can make it. So this is another story. The border with both Guianas, between Suriname and the Guianas, are ferries. So here I'm at the one going to Guyana, not the French one, and it goes once a day, 10 o'clock. It has limited capacity. As you can see, these cars are already here, and whatever cars are over here. And yeah, hopefully I get to come along. Otherwise I have to wait another day till tomorrow. Shit. So we're just closing out the immigration in Suriname once again. Looks like I'm the last vehicle that got on the ferry. There are 2 cars that cannot come. So they're gonna have to wait until tomorrow. See what happens. Uh-oh, they just shushed me. I was not allowed to film inside the immigration office, but we got everything sorted out. I am officially checked out of Suriname. Now we're just waiting to be loaded onto the ferry, and then we cross into Guyana. Bye-bye Suriname. Hello Guyana. We are on our way. A few more minutes. So this is the ferry that is crossing the border, so the river, to Guyana. As you can see, it's quite small. And that's why you have to be here on time. Pedestrians are just walking on. And that's the last little bit of Suriname. I don't know exactly where we're going because I don't see too much over there except around the corner in the distance, so maybe that's where we're going. Look at this big guy that's taking a lot of space on this ferry. I guess he got here on time. And off we go. Officially. They just sailed into some of these big pumping docks. Bike almost fell over, but I guess they know what they're doing, hopefully. Jeez, I'm looking for a cool spot on this little ferry, but even on the ferry there's just no wind. There's just sunshine. All right, maybe I can find some shady spot. My bike's right beside the engine room, so it's noisy as hell, so I don't really want to be there. Hanging out on the river, which is a border, just like on the other side of Suriname, where it's also a border with the other Guyana, French Guiana. That is where we're going.